I just want to introduce our different panelists here today. Div, would you like to introduce yourself?
My name is Div. I actually graduated from the MBAN program in 2022. I'm currently working as a senior data scientist with Scotiabank in Toronto. So I made the jump from moving from Vancouver to Toronto after completing my master's degree. And just a very basic historical background, like I didn't actually come from a very financial background, but I think analytics led my way through it. So happy to answer all your questions and anything after the session also I could help you guys with, for sure.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Div. And Tanishka?
Hi, everyone. I'm Tanishka. I, like Div Sahib as well, I'm an MBAN alumni, but I graduated very recently. I graduated this year itself, like in August. So I'm fairly new alum, and I'm currently working as a consultant at CIBC. Before MBAN, I was working at Goldman Sachs. So I do come from a financial background. And right before that, I did my undergrad in engineering. So yeah, super excited to share some insights with you guys, and hopefully it'll help you all, and happy to answer any and every questions.
Maybe tell us a little bit from each of you about how the MBAN program impacted your career and brought you to where you are today.
I came from an automotive engineering background, a very operation-centric background. And then I started working with an automotive company, but it was mostly in supply chain logistics. So nothing related to finance, nothing related to investments, risk, all those things that we discuss in finance day in, day out. But again, the core was very engineering based and very mathematical based. And what I wanted to do with respect to the MBAN program was to upskill my data skills, programming skills, and also be aware of the different industries in which analytics is applied to. And I think that's where the MBAN came in as a perfect opportunity, because analytics in itself is very interdisciplinary. You can apply to different industries, different organizations, and across different geographies as well. So I think that was one of the decisions why I wanted to do an MBAN, is to actually not pivot my career, but actually elevate my career in that sense, so that I can grab on more programming knowledge, grab on more business intelligence knowledge with respect to different analytical works that's being done, be it marketing analytics, be it finance analytics, again, be it supply chain analytics as well, which I was very familiar with. So I think that's how the MBAN came in, and thankfully I got a very good opportunity with Scotiabank after that, because of the skills that I had learned in the MBAN. And a big part of that skills was the internship component that I had, which gave me the opportunity, to really apply all those programming, business intelligence skills hands-on in that internship period. And that only helped in my interviews when I was actually interviewing for my full-time roles. So they asked me something with respect to business intelligence, and I knew a lot of things based on the things that I had done in the past. And that's how I translated my operational analytics skills into financial analytics skills, I would say. So yeah, that's how I would describe it.
Awesome. Thanks so much for telling us a little bit more about that, Div. Nishka?
Thanks for asking, Vivian. So I think for me, like I mentioned, I was working with Goldman Sachs for about 2.5 years. And towards the end of my 2.5 years, I was like, okay, you know what? I need to upskill myself. There's something definitely missing. And I feel very saturated in the kind of work I was doing. It felt like I was trying to solve different problems with the same solutions, because what I knew about analytics, like the scope of it was very minimal. Like I didn't know what I didn't know. And because there's so much information on the internet, it was really hard to like narrow it down, or, have like a one-stop shop. Okay, this is everything you need to know kind of thing. And also another really important component for me was to go to a business school, because I really wanted a program that would help me not only upskill in my technical skills, but also really teach me how to apply them and translate them into business insights. Like, just bridge that gap and really teach me how to work in a group and have that kind of exposure to be able to connect the dots between and like tell a story. So that's why I specifically was looking just for like business schools which provided a business analytics program, because I knew I wanted to upskill, and I love analytics, I love data. and MBAN came through, and it was just a really great program. Like in 1 year, I mean, of course, they taught us like a lot of different skills, like a lot of different technical skills, but it also, what for me was really important was the group work, and how they taught us how to um, follow through these different case studies and the different kind of stories to tell and stuff like that, and just like the camaraderie that happened throughout the age groups as well, because like Vivian mentioned, like there were people who were straight out of their undergrad as well as people who had like 20 years of experience. So just working and learning from them itself was like a very different experience altogether. And I think that is what is really helping me right now in my current role as a consultant. Like, of course, the technical skills and stuff also follow through, but then more than that, being a consultant, like I'm essentially working as an internal consultant at CIBC. So I'm having to deal with a lot of different groups, a lot of different teams. Some teams are easy, some teams are not. So I think MBAN really helped me with that.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing. So audience members, I would like to encourage you to put up your questions to our alumni panelists in the Q&A. I see a lot of admissions related questions, and I will get to those, but I'm going to save those for the end after we finish talking with our alumni panelists and just really focus this time on this opportunity. So please put that in the Q&A. I do see a question here actually that popped up in the chat. Div and Tanishka, did you find real business use cases of today during the MBAN program? And also, were you able to apply real implementation in your current jobs? And can you comment with any examples that you might know of?
I can take that. So we did definitely work on real business scenarios. Like there was this whole week that we had that was called experiential learning during our MBAN. And that basically had classes from professors like all across SODR. And there was strategy, there was operations, there was capacity management. And all we did that entire 1 week was basically break down real life cases from like Harvard Business Review or like different like cases that professors had found or which they felt was really meaningful to us, and then just like debate around it or like try to figure out how to go around solving that particular case. And the professors would come tell us, okay, this is the case, this is something that has happened, how would you approach it? And then they would break us into two groups and then make us like debate it out and try to rationalize and really think it through, not just from like a business standpoint, but from okay, how do we use data, and then take a step back, connect that to what our problem is, and then get to it. So I think that was a super fun week. We also ended with like a capstone project where that was around people analytics, and we were given like a real life case, like dummy data with like a grocery store, and we were asked to like figure out how to best manage their talent and figure out how to attract the best talent and retain them and things around that. So I would say like there's a lot of focus on like case studies, like like experiential learning, as opposed to like just telling you, okay, this is what you need to know, do this, do that, and just like do your assignments.
Great. Div.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's a very good example what Tanishka shared. I think I had the similar experiences as well. One of the things that I really enjoyed was the Google Hackathon that we had in the second half of the program. So essentially, we were given public data sets and we had to develop a dashboard out of it. And in my current role, I actually develop a lot of predictive and descriptive dashboards day in and day out. So to understand what metrics to how we want to show the dashboard, what metrics we want to show, how we are doing the backend data modeling for those dashboards. I got a pretty good insight during that Google Hackathon that happened, and it was a group project. I think we were working for 2 days nonstop on that, and then we had to present it to a panel which included professionals from Google that had come on the campus. And yeah, so it was a great experience, a very great learning fast track experience that gave me a good insight, how to develop a good dashboard, how to do that data storytelling aspect that we learn in the MBAN a lot. And the other example that I have is the courses, even like a fundamental course when we were taught Python in the starting. So Python was not only taught just from a perspective that there's an instructor and they will give you, correct material and you have to do, but we also did some mini projects. So we had assignments that were kind of mini projects. So we did some projects on natural language processing, some on sentiment scoring analysis, and very mini projects, which give me a great introduction. And when you're doing data analysis in your work, because you've started that a year before, you get to know like, okay, these are the things that I can actually apply in my work, and maybe give some actually pragmatic insights to help the organization save cost and efficiency and things like those. So yeah, these were the two examples that really helped me, that I'm still using in my professional work from the MBAN.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Div. I see a question here for Tanishka. And it's what was your background proficiency or background/proficiency in programming languages, and how did that feature through your journey? How well tailored is the program for people coming from non-coding backgrounds?
Okay, so I would say my proficiency in Python was like somewhere between basic and intermediate. I had no idea how to code in R. Like it's the first time I got to it when I got through the program. But then that being said, I do come from an engineering background and I did have to code here and there in like bits and pieces, even though my major wasn't in computer science, it was in electronics and communication. I did have like little segments of it spilled throughout my program. So I wouldn't say I was like an extremely good coder. I was somewhere between basic to intermediate, so that definitely helped me out. And in terms of like coming into the program, like how much did I really have to use it? So I would say like there are some subjects and courses which are very heavy on R. So I think like R is something that I did struggle with a little bit, but then as soon as I got the basics right, like it was pretty easy to course through it, because the profs usually give you like their notebooks and like they have the R codes and everything, and there are tons of resources. And then I think one thing that was really great was that as soon as we joined the program, we were asked to do certain mandatory courses on data camp, and those had a bunch of different R courses, so that definitely helped. But yeah, I mean, I would say like as long as you're anywhere, like as long as like Vivian mentioned, if you have basics of that, you will be good. Like it won't be too tough to course through it.
And to add to that, like there is like a program pre-prep that we put all students through that's supposed to give you all the basic skills, but depending on your learning style, sometimes you just want a bit more time with that material. And also like it's for us as admissions people, like just so you know what you're getting into, right? You're going to be working with this a lot. So if you can't stand looking at code, it's good to look at it before you get into the application process. And for us to know, you know what you're getting into. It's more of that from the admission side, but you also have time to work on it before the program starts as well. Do you have anything to add about like the coding aspects of the program or what your experience was with that?
Yeah, I think as Tanishka mentioned, like we are given that mandatory courses to do. Fortunately, they had the R ones. We did not. Initially, we had mostly the Python ones. So I think that shows like how the MBAN program actually develops every year, and they take into feedback from the alumni as well, and from everyone. So I think same lines. Like I hadn't worked with R because I think are specifically for statistical courses, like all the predictive analytics courses and business, all the statistical courses had a very dominance on R. But again, we had the resources in our plate, and I think the biggest advantage was the cohort. So having people, there were some people who actually knew a lot of R, so sitting down with them and doing assignments, because the MBAN also has a lot of group projects and group assignments. So you get in groups and you have people with different backgrounds and different experiences. So it really helps. Fortunately, we had a statistical major in our class who knew a lot of R. So she taught us a lot of basics on R and also how to do some statistical data analysis in the start. So again, all on with that resources, you also have the availability of your cohort, which is the best thing you could ask for. So I think, yeah, I had again a Python background, but not a R background. I think that is what I struggled with, and also I didn't have a cloud computing background, so that is also something that I learned new in the program. So I think those were the two things. Otherwise, it's a very program that takes emphasis on the application, like the pragmatic, practical application. So I think through case studies, through your cohort, through your professors, you'll sail through for sure. Yeah.
That's awesome. And Div, your response made me think like of the supportiveness of the cohort. Maybe we can speak a little bit about that. Like, having like a stats major there helping the cohort through. What were your experiences like in the cohort? Like, how supportive was it? And tell us a little bit about your insights about the cohort experience.
For sure. So I think every course that you go through would have a component of a group project and individual assignments. So it's a mixed bag. So there are assignments that you're doing individually, and then there are group projects in the end or in between. So sometimes you're randomly allotted, sometimes you get to choose who you'll have in the group project. So I came from India. The other thing that I wanted to mention was the program was the cohorts especially was very interdisciplinary in terms of the regions that people were coming from. So we had people from Europe, also because we are in North America, so we had people from North America, different parts of Asia. So you get to be very culturally simulated with all of them. And also, again, they were from different backgrounds. So there were a lot of engineers as well, but there were also people from mathematics, people from SATs, people from engineering, which is not very quantitative, like chemical engineering or something like, for me, it was a mechanical engineering. So we had people there as well. So learning from them, and everyone was picking up each other through their experiences and doing that. One of the good examples that I have is we have a course called data-driven marketing. So at the end of the class, whenever the professor used to teach any specific marketing technique, he used to ask the class, like, has anyone worked previously in their organizations? So if anyone actually worked, they would actually come in front of the class and, kind of give that practical example. So that reinforced the things that you were learning in the class. So for example, if someone had done things like A/B testing before in their previous e-commerce organizations, they would come in front of the class and tell about how they implemented real time those processes, those analytical processes and things. So it was a very wholesome experience in learning from that aspect, and that translates to right now also. Right now I'm an alumni, but I have that network, even not just my cohort, even network like Tanishka is there, people from the newer batches and people like the older batches. So you have all the network connected, and I'm sure, like, if I need to apply to CIBC, I can message Tanishka, like, please help me. I see a role. I see a good role. So that's the advantage of it. Yeah.
You guys come from very different perspectives to the finance sector. Like, Tishka, you come with experience into the finance sector after the MBAN program, and Div, this was totally new for you. So I'm curious to know, like, what your thoughts are of the growing role of analytics in the finance sector, from your different perspectives. Like, one, Tishka, from like experience perspective, and Div from someone that's brand new to the sector.
I would say, like, one thing that I find extremely beautiful about data and analytics, that it is sector neutral. And finance is, like, you can apply it to any and every sector, but finance is especially one of those sectors where you definitely need data analytics, because it's a number game. Like, you literally, like, finance is just numbers. And like these days, there's a lot of focus, like, amongst banks, and not just banks, like different financial institutions like private equity, venture capital, or anywhere. You need data to, if you really want to be ahead of the curve and advance where your firm is going from point A to point B. Like, a lot of my work that I do is around improving efficiencies and, like, reducing costs and manual effort for people within CIBC, so that if internally we're already doing well, that automatically translates to how it's going to show outside to our clients. So I feel like, especially in finance, like even back in Goldman, like I worked back at Goldman Sachs in India, and I was working as a business intelligence specialist. And over there, like, there was a lot of focus on how can we save the firm money? How can we improve manual efficiencies? And the thing about banks and financial institutions are, because there are so many regulatory like restrictions on it, like some of the systems are extremely like legacy, slow, old systems. And with the growing pace of things and how you need to change things, you need data analytics, and you need to be able to figure out those little pockets of, like, insight from the vast amount of data you have as to where we can improve. How can we do better? How can we save money? How can we make more money? So that is one of the trends that I have seen. And I come from like a very central team within CIBC. We're like a core central team that feeds into every line of business within CIBC. And there hasn't been a single team that hasn't come up to us and asked us to, asked us to consult them on a particular project, or like do something for them that's going to benefit them and then in turn the clients. So I definitely think that, like, analytics is growing in every sector, but like now more than ever, like especially in finance, the scope of it is just huge. And like from my friends who are in private equity, venture capital, like they need quantitative analysts who are not just a numbers guy. They are a numbers guy, but they also know how to tell a story with it. And that's what's hinging in today's world, like storytelling. Like, like I know I can find someone who can learn Python and R in 6 months, but like, can I find someone who can actually connect that and tell me what's going to happen and how this is going to look like and what this really means for my business? So yeah, that's what I would have to say.
Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, and I think that's where like the UBC MBAN program has an area of strength. It's not a pure data science program. It is one that combines business with data science so that you are able to actually tell the story with the data. So they're really looking at the business processes and how an organization works and teaching you that, but also, of course, teaching you the science behind analytics as well. So thanks for sharing that. Dib, any from your perspective, of someone that was new to the finance sector, like how did this all work out for you, and what was your perspective of analytics and its role in the finance sector?
I have so as I told, like I came from a very automotive background, did work in supply chain logistics. I think MBAN was something that really helped me get into finance, get my foot in the door for sure. Continuing on like Tanishka's point, like data is again very interdisciplinary. You can apply it everywhere, and what the MBAN teaches you how you can use that data and help organizations, teams, businesses make the right decisions to either save costs, improve efficiencies, and things like those. And I think the one thing about finance is because it's a very cash-rich industry. They're very always cash-rich, and they have money to spend on, R&D, innovation, and things like those. So they actually start investment. So before the AI hype happened, we have now LLMs, ChatGPT, and things like that. I think the first point of start of analytics was actually like credit scoring and fraud detection and things like those. Like these were the first analytical use cases that went into production. And so going that, I was always interested, but I never knew like if I could get a foot in I could start my career in finance or not. And I think I had worked with data a lot. And when I got an interview at Scotiabank, I got a test in R, which was difficult because I'm not very good at R again. So, but I sailed through. I had an interview, and what they were looking was someone who can actually, build predictive dashboards for them, forecast things, and get them insights so that actually they can make decisions to save the bank some money on things like audit clearances and things like how they pay their auditors and things. So I work in internal audit inside the bank. So we have 700 auditors working day in, day out, trying to mitigate risk and improve systems and processes. So everything is managed through data. They are tracking how much time they are spending. They are tracking how much risk they are mitigating with respect to data. So they wanted someone who could actually leverage that data, transform it into very pragmatic and useful insights, and then communicate that to a broader level of audience so that, okay, we have this data, this is what we can do with it, and this would be the potential cost saving that you could do, this would be the potential risk you could mitigate, so things like those. So I think that was a big plus for me because that degree prepared me. And again, like finance would give you options going into fraud detection, investment analysis, credit scoring, regulatory compliance, operational efficiency, and much more. So again, a lot of opportunities. And now I see like finance being a very hot market because you have in North America, like in Canada, the big banks, which operate on a very large scale. And then there are a lot of financial institutions as well, like the fintech firms are there that use and leverage data a lot. So very interesting place to be in. And MBAN was truly a game changer for me there to get my foot in the door again.
Yeah, it sounds like because it's so sector neutral and it's so important to so many sectors, you can almost be a bit of a chameleon in your career, moving from different points to different points, which is really quite cool. Now, I do have some career questions in the chat here, in the Q&A from our audience members. So one question is, after finishing the program, how was it like to secure a job? How did the degree help you be competitive during the recruitment process? Did you have any challenges looking for a job? So anything on the job search post-degree?
Um, for me, I can speak from my experience. Like I feel like I definitely got kind of lucky because I know a lot of my batchmates struggled. Like they had to apply to a lot of jobs and like, go through a lot of these networking events and really put themselves out there. But for me personally, like when I applied for the internship, I think I'd applied for like 5 to 6 different positions. Like I just started applying to internships, and one of them that I applied to was the TLAP program at CIBC. Now, TLAP's essentially like a technology leadership advancement program, and it's a very competitive program. So I just applied to it thinking, okay, you know what, we'll see. And they said that it's open just to MBAs, but luckily I got the interview call and then there was a case round and everything, and I ended up getting it. So that for me was a really big break because the TLAP, like, or any program actually, almost all banks, all big fours have like a rotational program out here in Canada, and they're very well renowned. Like if you graduate from those programs or if you've been a part of those programs, it really gives you that competitive edge. And obviously getting into that program itself first, it happened because I was in MBAN at UBC. Like, so, the fact that I had previous finance experience and then the fact that I did a master's and was pursuing one from one of the best unis in the country, and I had the skills for it, that definitely added on to it. And then once I landed at CIBC in this internship, it was very easy for me to network within CIBC and find the role that I really wanted for myself. So I would say like about June is when like I started looking for full-time positions within CIBC. And those 2 months were kind of hectic because I was really networking and putting myself out there, trying to find that perfect role for me, giving interviews and stuff. But then I think a week before my internship ended, I had a full-time offer letter and I started first week of September. So yeah, I think for me, like it was relatively smoother. But then at the same time, I also have a lot of friends who struggled. So I guess there is like a bit of a luck factor, but then there's also like your own experiences and what you bring to the table. So yeah, that was my experience.
Great. Thanks for sharing your experience, and congrats on thinking outside the box and getting into such a prestigious program. Obviously something for others to consider as well, like these types of rotational programs that can really get your foot in the door. Div, what was your experience like?
Yeah. So I think the beauty of the MBAN program, it has a very good transition because you're in the academic environment for 8 months. You're studying with your cohort, you're in classes, and then you have the 4 months of internship. So you gradually go into that professional mindset with your internship. So I think that was one of the good things. I got my internship through the MBAN program. So we have internship listed on the UBC platform, the sort of platform that they have. And I got my internship through that platform. I applied, I got interviewed, I got the position, I did my internship for 4 months. Unluckily, like that position didn't get translated into a full-time position. So, and I wasn't applying to any positions because I was in the assumption, that my internship would get converted into full-time, and I'll start right after working there. But that did not happen because I think the market was slowing down at that point of time. There was a little influx of talent and what the company was looking to hire. So I took 2 months to find my next role. So I applied and interviewed at, I think, I sent out like 50 plus applications at that point in time, and I got heard back from like 5-10 positions. And out of those, like I got multiple offers at that point of time, luckily. And then I had the opportunity to choose, and I chose the bank because again, it was a big institution. It was a great opportunity. It was a wholesome experience where I could, apply data and analytics in the best sense that I could. So yeah, those 2 months were hectic after the internship for me, when I was applying to different roles and networking. And I think the biggest advantage I had was, again, my cohort, because everyone was applying also, and everyone was sending each other positions. I think you're a good fit here, you can apply there. If I knew someone who wanted to go into marketing analytics, I was sending them marketing positions. So you really help out your friends. And also and I did network with professors as well. So professors really give you insights. So I remember one of the professors, is very renowned in operations and supply chain. So he gave me very good contacts where I could reach out to. So that's a big advantage that you have. And on top of that, you have the career services. So they are always there to support you, help you, give you guidance on how your resume should look for different organizations. And you can always book one-to-one coffee chats with them and, get that feedback from them. So I think all of this really helped me. And at the end, all worked out. So I'm very happy and very grateful for that. Yeah.
Awesome. And so probably one last question here, seeing the time. There's a question that came in, like, as AI tools are quickly changing our work and life, how do you see your roles transform in the future? And how will the MBAN program prepare you for such a transformation? And obviously a larger kind of question here, so feel free to take a stab at it.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think going forward, like, I think what MBAN has done for us, it has equipped us with any and every basic tool that we could need in our arsenal for when it comes to analytics. Like, at that point in time, like, I graduated this year, and like, I know for a fact that I know all the little tidbits. Like, I might not know it in depth, but I at least know everything there is to know about analytics to quite an extent. Like, I mean, of course, no one can always know everything, but I feel like the MBAN does a great job in trying to condense everything in that 1 year and trying to give you that arsenal that you will need going into the job market or going out into the world. So I feel like knowing what I know at this point, combined with my cohort, combined with the network that I have, and the fact that I will continue to have access to career services even as an alum, and the kind of networks and relationships I have built, combined with the fact that I will be learning and make sure that I keep on learning as and when I grow, and my experience right now, I feel like it has put me in a really good spot. And the fact that the MBAN's a very, reputed program at a very reputed uni, especially in Canada, not just like because we'll be applying jobs out here in Canada, like, that really gives you a standing to apply from, because like, people consider it a big thing that, oh, you graduated from UBC, you did MBAN. And business analytics itself is pretty hot these days. Like, it's one of those jobs that it will always be in demand. Like I said, like, analytics is sector neutral, so any and every sector will always have the need for data analysts or data scientists, no matter where you go or when you go. But what MBAN did was it gave me great tons of memories, great friends, a huge alumni network that I can always tap into, and just like equip me with those tools that I know I will need forever should I continue to stay in this space. So I think that's how it's really come through for me personally.
That's awesome. I think it really gives you the tools to deal with ambiguity. I mean, that's why it's so hot in these, especially in times of uncertainty, is like people are hiring analytics grads like crazy because they try to deal with uncertainty through data, right? So I think that's one of the beautiful things about it, is that it equips you for uncertainty because it's the tool you use in times of uncertainty. So I think that's a wonderful thing to express.
For sure.
Dib, what are your thoughts on this? Like, how are AI tools going to transform your role, or what are your thoughts on this big question?
Yeah, just in the interest of time, I'll just keep it a little short. I think tools and technologies will always keep changing and evolving. So R and Python were considered as like on same levels back in 2018, 2017 when we started doing it, but Python became more open source, more developed. You had Tableau versus Power BI, so Power BI jumped on. So now you have all the LLMs going on. There are different LLMs coming out. So I think tools would always be a kind of a complement to the knowledge and skill that you have as a person. So they would not eventually replace you. That's what I'm hoping for. I don't know the answer. They might or might not, but they will always be a complement to the knowledge and things that you know and the things that you could do. So they would always be a way to change things, a way to apply things. And an MBAN teaches you to learn very fast, like quickly learn different things and different stacks and anything that you could imagine with respect to analytics and data. So that learning ability, that's what program teaches you very well, which you can apply moving forward as well. So there's a new tool, you want to explore it and you want to understand it. Does it make a job easier or not? If it does, you go and start using that. And that's where, because we did MBAN, because we come from a very analytical mindset, we can quickly go and grab that tool and start making use of it. So I still feel it would be a compliment, but you never know. But that would be just my 2 cents on that. Yeah,
that's true. And I was just talking to some MBAN students right now, coming off the period they're coming off, which I'm sure you guys can remember was like lots of work and everything. And I just thought, like, this is going to make everything seem easy after you finish the program, because I don't think it challenges you at a point where you're like, oh, when you get to the workplace, like it seems easier, because it's never going to be like 4 courses at a time where you have to learn. So thank you both. I want to just give you both a round of applause for making it out today, for talking to our students who are interested in the MBAN program, and for sharing your wonderful experiences. With my big thanks for coming out to chat with all of our audience members.
For sure. Thank you so much for having us. And also happy to connect with anyone who has any questions. Feel free to hit me up on LinkedIn. I'd be more than happy to have a coffee chat and answer any questions you might have.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.